Welcome back to the channel. I'm Peter Mokri, a Dallas-based DP, photographer, gaffer with a 1-ton grit van full of Aputure lighting, and I am available for hire. On today's episode, we pick up where we left off last time. I was prepping all my gear for this shoot. Now we're in Tyler, Texas, and we're doing interviews and testimonials all day. This whole episode is actually going to be a time lapse of the whole day. I did have to cut some things out to kind of speed things up and reduce the dead space, but overall, this is what the day looked like. So let's dive into it. So I'm meeting with the client right now. The client is Vanessa and Brent. They are the ones who hired me out to come light this shoot. I provided my van with lighting and grip, and then I came in as a gaffer slash G&E, kind of doing all the lighting things with the help of Brent throughout. Now, what was crazy about this location is it was 3 stories up from where we parked. So there was a lot of gear to haul in. Now, I had to be very smart and calculated about what I was going to do for this setup. I couldn't just bring everything I wanted, bring it all upstairs, all 20-pound shop bags, all the lights I had, all the stands. I had to be real strategic about it. So I made sure that my choices were going to be easy to bring up and minimalistic in that aspect, but also providing the best possible solution for this space to get the most out of the lighting that we will use. Also, it had to be very easy to move around and change between the interview setups. I couldn't have something that took a long time to change up because we didn't have much time between interviews. So what I opted for was a 600D and a 1200D, which you see me setting up right there. The 600D a lot of times just brought up the room tone overall and just the light in the whole space. You can see it working right now. And the 1200D was going to be used on the booklight. Now my booklight setup is similar to what I did in a previous vlog, and it's on one stand. So I have my setup all on one stand so I can move it around easily. I couldn't do it on wheels this time because I knew there was carpet and rugs in this space. It'd be more difficult, but it is still on one stand and easy to move around. So I opted for an 8x8 Ultra Bounce and an 8x8 quarter grid diffusion. The reason I went with the quarter grid versus something thicker is I wanted to make sure I had the output necessary to overpower the windows. Now, if I went with a thicker diffusion, I might lose the output that I need. And at one point I did not have enough output, and I actually had to use a 600D to boost it up a little bit and get us a little more output to help overpower what was happening outside, because the sun actually came out pretty bright and it was tough. So I also had a T2C for my hair light with a 45-degree grid, and that's the look. Now, right now you can see where the booklight is. It is not in a good position because it is very sidesy. Now I bring it closer to camera to make it wrap a little, and then I bring it closer again. It's a game of inches. Sometimes you're right on the spot and it's good. Sometimes you need to move a little bit. Not only do you have to move the booklight itself, but also you have to move the light on how it's hitting the booklight. Like right now, you can see it's going towards the center of the V. Now, if I panned it a little to the left and it did it like it is now, it changes it. And that's what I did. So here's a little diagram I did. Hopefully you guys like this. If you do like the diagrams, I can continue making these. This is my first time doing it, so let me know your input. So we have a 1200D with a wide reflector. The wide reflector helps get a good spread in a small amount of space. We have a 600D giving us our room tone with the regular reflector that it comes with. Our T2C Amaran tube with the 45-degree grid. And then we have an 8x8 Ultra Bounce. That's I think this one is from Canvas Grip. You can get them from TRP World. There's other brands out there, but it's just black on one side, white on the other, giving us a soft bounce. And then we have an 8x8 quarter grid diffusion. And like I said earlier, I chose the quarter grid to help me get more output because I didn't want something that was too thick. And then we have a 40x40 ultra floppy. And what that does is it gives us our fill light. I don't like to use a light for fill when I can avoid it. I like what a bounce does. It's a little more natural. It has a better feel overall. It just looks a lot better. Now, we have the tube light set up as a hair light. It does have the 45-degree grid. And what that allows is it allows me to control where it goes and avoid blooming in the lens and avoid it kind of hitting your people's foreheads, noses, and things like that. The 600D is bouncing into the ceiling, giving us a little bit of lift in the background on the window seals. Also, around where the green is painted on the walls, we wanted to lift that up a little, and it helped to achieve that. We have the 1200D bouncing straight into the ultra bounce. It scatters the light from the ultra bounce into the quarter grid diffusion, and then it gets scattered once more when it hits the diffusion and actually hits the subject, giving them a nice look. So we move on to our next setup. We did our interview. Next setup, you see how easily that booklight setup moved. We figure out where they're going to sit. Once they land, I switched the rotation of the booklight so I could have the light coming in from the other side, and then I moved the light over to that space. We're discussing wardrobe to make sure we don't have any aliasing or moire happening from the patterns on the clothing, and then we're setting up the subject into place, making sure that they pop and look really nice. The tube light's getting set up, it's getting balanced, making sure it doesn't move, and then we decide, you know what, this isn't the best spot, let's make an adjustment, and we move everything forward a couple feet, and that happens. And what's really good is with this setup, it's very easy to move. It's really small and simple. It's not overcomplicated. So we could shift a few feet and it doesn't take much effort to do so because we don't have a lot of fixtures and a lot of elements. So we were able to shift it forward, make it happen, and everything ended up looking really good. And he has a cowboy hat on. So if we didn't have such a big source, we wouldn't be fighting that cowboy hat the whole time and getting weird shadows, which we never did, and it ended up looking perfect. So now off to our third setup. Our third setup is going to be a double setup, and what that means is the two next people that we're going to be filming will be in the exact same spot, maybe a slight variant, but we won't have to change setups between the two of them. So we're adjusting everything we need. This is right before lunch. We're finalizing all the elements that we want, kind of getting a rough idea of where we're going to be in the world. Now, when we arrived, we had 2 hours to set up, and then from that point, we were able to do everything we needed. Now, I just turned off the lights, and what that does is it gives me the ability to see what each light is doing. If I turn one off, I can see it's doing this. If I turn another one off, I could see it's doing this. And this helps you build the scene. Sometimes it's hard to see with all the lights what they're doing, and sometimes you have to shut them on and off to see what's going on, but we know that we're going to be moving it around, and we're showing the output that we're getting on the subject as well. So you see I moved that 600D around, don't like it, moved it again, don't like it, moved it again, don't like it, asking, hey, are we hitting here? Are we lighting this up? Speaking with the DP Vanessa, hey, is this where you like it? Is this the right spot? And we're making it land, increasing, decreasing output, moving in different elements. And that was all completed and done. Both interviews were taken care of, and we're moving on to interview number 5. And we have 6 total for the day. And the 5th one, just slight adjustments. We're discussing how we want to lay this out, how we want to frame it, and then we start moving in the light and we pound in that 1200D through the diffusion. Now, you see how much is going on. It seems repetitive, but there's a lot of things changing constantly. We're making adjustments, we're making things work, and that's what you have to be, on your toes and willing to move around. And we're moving things around and shifting things around and making them happen. And that's what's important on a shoot like this. You can't get stagnant and just kind of give up and quit and be like, I don't want to really do stuff. I'm just kind of getting worn out. I'm just going to stop. No, you keep pushing. You're paid to be there. Everyone's time is valuable. Put in all the effort possible and work your hardest to get the best results. And with this shoot, what was really great about it is Vanessa and Brent were very willing to discuss the framing, the shots, the ideas they had with me, and get my input as well. Like, hey, did you like this? Do you want to do this? Do you think we should do this? What's your input on this? And that was really great. So the day ended. We started wrapping things up. We all worked together as a team to get things wrapped up and just get the space back to normal as quickly as possible. Brent again came in clutch. He pretty much handled getting all the gear downstairs for the most part as I was loading up the van and organizing things. So that was a huge help. It was a long day. I think we ended up going over 1 hour in OT, which turned it into an 11-hour day instead of a 10-hour day. But one of the advantages I did have is I actually did stay in the Airbnb the night before, and I got to stay in the Airbnb that night. So I had no commute there and no commute home. This was a fun shoot. I really enjoyed it. Setting up a book light, it's always my favorite. Popping in a little bit of a fill with a bounce. Hair light, that's just my go-to. I really enjoyed that kind of setup. What did you guys think of the diagram that I laid out? Would you like to see more of that? What about the time lapse of a full day of shooting? It seems chaotic. It seems like a lot, but that's what happens in a day. There's a lot going on. What the time lapse did is gave me the ability to focus on what I was doing. I still got some BTS the normal way I do, but man, it was really great knowing that that time lapse was going the whole time. I know the door got in the way sometimes, so I'm going to strategically put it in a different place and see where it lands, but sometimes you have no control of it. I appreciate everyone that watches the channel, everyone that subscribes, gives us likes, and also everyone that comments below. I'd love to hear your input. Comment down below. Let me know what you would have done differently, what you liked about the shoot, what you liked about the video. I want to hear it all. And thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.